Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Hot Air podcast with me, Dan Williams. So, episode 1 means only one thing. We have to kick things off with a serious bang. My guest this evening is a lifelong friend from the extreme sports world, an MC, a host and a presenter, just like myself. I'm very, very, very pleased to say that this evening I'm going to be joined by none other than Mr. Matt Crowhurst. So, without any further ado, welcome to the Hot Air podcast. Here we go. We've got the Crowhurst family here. Give us a little wave, chaps. That was very good. Should we try that one more time and look like we actually care?
Do you actually remember Dan?
Yeah.
Do you remember Dan Jasper? He's making it up. He doesn't remember you at all. How am I doing as your teacher?
Good.
Well, I'm not teaching you though. That's why.
What about you, Jasper?
They like spending time with their dad.
Do they? Yeah, I mean, he looks over the moon.
He constantly makes the weirdest noises all day long, non-stop, talks absolute gobbledygook, and when we need you to talk, what happens?
It's like the opposite version of you, just not on camera.
We're going to play hide from the camera. Right.
Okay, so I'm going to say three. I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, hide, and then 3, 2, 1.
Hide.
Oh God, we've got a Crowhurst. Oh, God. It's quite creepy. Oh, who's that?
Too quick.
It's quite off-putting.
Right. Whoa, see, noisy. This is what we deal with. Right, boys. Can you say no night to Dan?
Night, boys. Sleep tight.
Right, they're going to be very grown up right now, and Kit's going to put Jasper to bed because that's how we run our household. We make Kit do stuff. Right, go. See you later. Shut the door, please.
So here we are, the first ever Hot Air podcast, and what a guest to join me, Matt Crowhurst, all over the shop there. How are we? All the way in Chichester.
So I'm dealing with my tech here. I've got a new webcam which is following me, which I love. There's always something I've dreamed of, having cameras follow me, but it's a...
Of course, but in your converted garage, maybe not.
No, this is the command center. This is where all the magic happens. This is where the mind sharing, the brainstorming gets put into really fat long emails.
And do you still shred the cable for the listeners there? Matt is sitting in front of a sign that clearly states "shred the cable."
Hey, did you know that I
shred the cable?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I also.
Oh, okay. For the listeners,
that
there,
wakeboard is what I meant.
And Matt actually gave me some shit the other day for saying extreme sports, not action sports, and I didn't realise that's no longer a thing.
Which is brilliant. Which is a perfect start to this show that's going to encapsulate all that is wondrous in extreme sports.
It's that, isn't it? That's just extreme. So the reason why I wanted to get you on, Matt, was to
dummy run for all the other interviews to come, because I can just tell everybody here and now that apparently I was in the 3rd episode and that's been changed.
Yeah, I mean, Matt did launch a podcast that will probably do just as well as this one.
All right.
But no, cheers, Matt. Thanks for coming on. Podcast number 1.
And also breaking my fast.
Your what, for 30 minutes? But no, me and Matt have known each other for probably coming on 15, 20 years.
Man and boy.
20 years too long. Initially met through the wakeboard scene when I used to wakeboard down the Keys, and Matt was my protege. Sorry, I was your protege getting into the extreme sports world and certainly the scene. So I wanted to sort of ask you, Matt, how did it all come around? Obviously, you were very successful in the wakeboarding world, and then how did that sort of snowball into having a mic in your hand instead of a handle or anything else, if you will?
Well, I think a qualification there is needed on success, because success is very much in the eye of the
holder
receiving it or not, so to speak. That sounded weird. Success in terms of I was a better than average wakeboarder for a decent amount of time. Like,
okay.
I would like to think I'm still a better than average wakeboarder, but from the age of 15 is when I started, and I started wakeboarding off the back of water skiing
25 years ago.
A little while ago. And he can only hit that figure, that calculation, so easily because of the even number that I have now hit in terms of my age.
38. Matt was 40 the other day, so 1st of Jan, I believe, wasn't it?
It was.
And a
It was.
fantastic array of wakeboarders and friends sort of doing a little collection of videos for you, I heard.
I mean, the dregs, to be honest, because
Johnny
you were on
Khan in a bath, I hear, or
Khan. That one, I should post that one. That is good. I had a friend you don't know who donned a mankini because I sent him a photo of me in a mankini, so he had bought it especially.
I think I was in the tub, wasn't I?
You were in the tub. Not
I
Johnny
was in
Khan.
the
You were in the
tub.
tub, dude. Are you all right?
Oh God, these Czech lagers, mate.
What would we say? Yeah. So yeah, 25 years ago. Thank you.
Right.
Started wakeboarding off the back of water skiing since I was like 5,
Cool.
which turned into 3 eventing, which is slalom, trick, and jumping, which I did pretty full on, and
Cool.
did it for Team GB for quite a while and did all right at that up to the age of 15. Went to go do some water ski training with a pair of brothers called Nick and Jules Heaney, who were really good skiers themselves, like
Very much so,
national, European champions, etc. And they had a ski school just north of Newcastle.
They were Geordies, were they not? Yeah.
Geordies,
They still are. I mean, they haven't died.
Still are. Still, they've been
still going strong.
They've been living in America for 21 years, and still Geordie accents. It's a good selling point, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And I went up there to go water skiing, and I came back with a wakeboard, and that was it at the age of 15. And then
Awesome.
that year, I did at the age of 15 years old, I went on tour with Nick and Jules and another former water skier, former world jump champion record holder, Paul Price, and we all jumped ship to go to wakeboarding because we'd done our time of every weekend breaking ice through the winters, and water skiing's amazing. I love it, and if I was on a lake and had my own place, I would still go for a swerve.
So
I'd love to hit a jump
dicks on sticks. Is that the statement? And then gays on trays.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know what they're on about.
Stop it!
Stop
Go
it.
straight in my basket.
Is that still a thing?
No, that was 5 years ago, and you
It's
bought
still a thing with-
you
it's
bought a
still a thing
table
with
at
us,
Moo.
though.
It was after the Nationals, and you bought a table at Moo Moo's in Fleet for me and my friends. And you're practically
it
like
was
the
seedy because how much older am I than you and your friends?
well,
Considerably.
12, 13 years easy, and yeah. It was after Nationals, and you ended up staying on my parents' sofa when I was about 16.
Taking the kids out to Fleet for a big night, buy them a table, show them what's what, because I couldn't be dealing with the queue at Moo Moo's at Fleet. It's like there was a queue for Moo Moo's in Fleet. I mean, Moo Moo's is great. We had a great night.
We
Didn't
did,
you
yeah.
guys all take you all took your shirts off as well?
Yeah. Unfortunately, my girlfriend at the time didn't. Ooh, can't do that.
Cut that. Not gonna- Where did we get? I feared that this was going to digress a lot.
Very quickly, yeah.
And
Let's
when
get
you
back on
said-
track. I have got an itinerary, if you will.
And when you said about half an hour, that's what we always said with my show. 2 hours later, no.
Yeah, that's probably why people switched off.
Yeah, so get the good stuff in quick. Anyway, what are we doing?
We're going to go into the wakeboard one, and then how it progressed into getting a microphone in your hand. Where was that transition?
So yeah, started at 15 and took to it fairly well, sort of at an early stage. Like I could already go upside down on skis and wasn't afraid of flinging myself around on jump skis and and whatnot. So that was a really good grounding. And yeah, that's what I was saying. I think I love water skiing. It's great, and I would still do it if I could. It's a fairly linear sport in terms of its progression. It's an objectively judged partaken in sport, as in go a distance, get a score for a trick, go around some boys, go around some more boys. And that makes it sound worse than it is. It's not. It's amazing and it's incredibly skillful. And we have some of the best skiers in the world from the UK, which we should be very proud of. But I'd done my time from the age of 5. Wakeboarding came along. It was a lot of fun, and you just kind of do your own thing.
Yeah.
Which is the amazing thing about it. But in some ways, it's also the thing that kind of holds it back because, well, in the early days, things are changing now where people are a little bit more professional, a bit more structured about what they do. As I was saying to Sophie last night, my wife.
Mm-hmm. My wife.
I was saying, I wonder why I didn't do more of the sport. But back then, it literally was a case of, let's go riding. And then after, maybe some drinking and some partying. And then next day, we'll see if we can ride with a hangover. It was very much like that. Obviously, once I was of age.
Well, of course. And was the scene very different then to now, would you say?
Well, the lifestyle, there's another horrible word and phrase, surrounding the sports is what makes these sports so amazing. And the same with water skiing. It's such an all-encompassing, family-orientated, whether they're actual blood family or your friends and family, And it's so intense because you're going somewhere to do something specific, whereas not just down the local park to kick a football about, and that's okay. But there's so much more effort involved in being involved in this sport that you are in 110% or you're just point blank not. And so if you're in 110%, it is full throttle most of the time. And so when I say the partying side of things is less so, it's not less so at all. Wakeboarders generally, and action sports athletes or extreme sports athletes, as you might like to say, Dan, we like to let our hair down, or I used to let my hair down.
And a big change, I think, for not only the wakeboard world, but the social aspect of it was Wakestock in 2000.
That didn't make things any easier on the wakeboard.
No, some of the best wakeboarders in every part of their harem in one campsite, just tearing up in Abersock for days, hitting the most outrageous sliders.
Okay, right. We're gonna have a word immediately right now. Do you want to know what I'm picking you up on right now?
Go on.
What word? What bit of terminology did you just throw in there that every single person in the wakeboarding world who does know their stuff is just sphincter twitched?
Slider?
Yeah.
Oh,
they're not slip-on sandals. They're rails.
Rails. So listen to me. I'm
obstacles.
Full of extreme sports and shredding the cable over here.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
I'm a Hey Bro t-shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the board behind you was the initial board you probably won. Did you win Wakestock in 2000? Was that the first one?
I got as much as second. I got second in the boat contest in 2003. That was I made the finals for like 10 years and hanging on by the skin of my teeth.
Hung on, I think would be the terminology, Matt.
Hung over by
hanged
the skin
on.
of my teeth. And then I won a Pool Gap, and then the Rococo Rail Tour, which was a collection of different rail tours. It was
there used to be a lot of Welsh girls with their Abersocks out, if you will.
With their Abersocks out. That's good. Yeah.
Like that.
We got totally County Gwynedd, and the girls got their Abersocks out. You could not do now at events what seemed to take place and be acceptable. And
normality,
now even I look back then at the sort of like impromptu bikini contests on the Pool Gap and whatnot, and now I'm a bit, oh god, that's not right. Hey, different times.
It is different
very
times.
Very different times, and we were all innocent.
Well, you would have been 19.
So I know that I was once. Poor
Jesus.
the first Wakestock was 2000, and coming back to the original question, which seemed like 30 minutes ago, which was how did the wakeboarding transition into getting on the mic and hosting, was simply that I finished sixth form in 99, and that was my right, I'm wakeboarding, that's it.
Yeah.
Went to Australia for what was going to be 3 months, and then followed up by the US for another 3 months, and then I blew my knee after a month and a half in Australia. So blew my ACL, which is sort of the nasty one that has you out for a while. And back then, the sort of operation that you'd have wasn't the keyhole one; it was the open your whole knee up one.
And keyhole straight up the bum hole, is that right?
That they had to go in through the
in and down.
One, there was a big recovery. I did request that operation.
Yeah.
So that meant like a year until I was back riding properly again, and then 8 months off the water completely. And so this Wakestock event, which we didn't know anything about, it was right. There's an event up in Wakestock, up in North Wales. We went, had no idea what we were going along for. I was in the back of the car with my brother, who was riding with me at the time. He's ex-national champion, so my brother was really good. He made the podium that weekend as well. And then I just went along to help out, and I got thrown on the mic. I didn't even know I was going to do it before I was up there. And I was probably awful, if anybody can remember me doing it back then.
Or if there's any footage. Anyway, I've got a 2003 cassette somewhere that Drews gave me.
Hey, Drews, speaking of Drews, who's how we sort of first met, kind of, who took you down to the Keys, he has got all of that. Have you not seen all his weird random awful clips that he's been putting up, just recording his VHS TV screen?
Yeah, Drews came back. He came to mine. I must have been 10. Because I've just been wakeboarding down at Quayside in Mitechett. I was like, You've been where and doing what? And then he took me down there. Will Christian drove me on the boat, and I started doing ollies. And since then, my career had never got any better since wakeboarding, apart from doing a hoochie glide, which is your signature trick.
Not anymore. That shoulder could not take it. That would be an instant dislocation.
Dislocation.
You just see me flapping through the.
So from there, obviously, you know, you grab the eye of the wakeboard world, and sort of other presenting opportunities arose from there.
Well, I mean, so back then, terrestrial TV actually covered stuff, and so Wakestock for the first few years before everything went online, obviously, was on TV a good bit.
Channel 4 was
And
it
the
not?
production company who covered it, they had a bunch of other shows that they did. So I did voiceover and presenting for a whole bunch of different things, a whole bunch of different stuff. That I think Avanti Media, that was it. So shout out to those guys. And I did like a Street Luge show, and a ton of other stuff, just traveling around, recording different studios all over, and whatever they could throw me in at. And then I did the presenting for Wakestock for a few years until actually Drew's pinched my job. Actually,
Bastard.
yeah, that's but I carried on hosting and emceeing Wakestock every year for 15 years until it finished in 2014, and then that just snowballed. So it never felt like, right, I'm deciding to host events and do commentary as a
Just
job.
sort of came,
which is very fortunate. Which is a lot of within action sports. It's kind of the way it goes a lot of the time. As in, the incredible commentators and presenters of Ed Lee and Tim Warwood, and an American guy called Christian Stevenson, who I work with a lot, and plenty of others like them, Adam Gendel, Jay Robinson, Scott Penman, Seb Hania, all the people I've worked with, they all come from their individual sports. And
that's it. Yeah,
they've got a bit of chat about them, and they know the sports.
And you do to an extent.
It's a scene, and you've got a bit of chat about you. You don't know anything about the sport, but somehow your chat has overcome that. So
hopeless.
props to you.
So 2014 came along, and that's probably when maybe I started stepping into the game in the world of hosting. I know I did a few of the AODs, the all other divisions. And then obviously I caught the eye of you, and you thought, this guy's got serious chat.
I thought, there is no one else in the country.
That'll put up with you.
And I can't be at an event. Who the hell am I going to call to step in?
And obviously there's loads of money in wakeboarding.
First and only choice.
Well, loads of money in wakeboarding. I thought, hey, name my price.
Bacon sandwich.
Yeah.
And some drink. And some energy drink.
And then moving on again, me and Matt started to work hand in hand, if you will.
Skipping through the day at most wakeboarding events. Yeah.
Yes, skipping and drinking heavily, mainly towards the end of the evening. But the first one I remember doing, well, the best one I remember was Thorpe Park the year before last. Actually, Tallington
Thorpe Park was really good, but I thought Tattershall.
The first time when we listened to Fireball. Hey, Glenn, the DJ, just pumping out Fireball. That was sublime. It was Glenn Toronto.
It is Glenn with two N's. Glenn with two N's.
Glenn. So, you know, I sort of always grown up looking at Matt and thinking, and my cousin Nick, and that's a good zoom. And I always thought, you know, that's cool. You know, it's good to be on a mic. Sorry, Matt's just trying to steal my thunder.
I'm trying to reframe. There we go. That's the frame I'm after.
Yeah. And I thought, you know, I want to get into this. So I can't remember. I think I approached you one time and said, look, how would I get into it?
And I went, fuck off. Get out of my face, little shit.
Yeah, get out of here and win a national title like you did when you were 14. No, I'm joking. And then since then,
I think it took me longer than that, and it took me till I got into the Masters.
Yeah. And since then, Matt started joining up with the Arena Cross team. Props.
So that is just, you're Frosland.
I'm Frosland.
What's happened to you?
I'm coming back, and we're there.
So
put one of the hats on.
Yeah, I mean, you know
Models
the way
like
it is,
that.
really, because you've done it. It's freaking right place, right time. Make sure you chat to the right people. Don't be a dick. I mean, inverted commas once again. Do be a dick, but don't be a complete actual.
Don't try and sing karaoke at the first time that you've ever met all these people at a Hilton in Wembley.
No, that's cool. That is super cool.
Okay,
that sort of thing is cool. Yeah, no, I just mean in all of these sports, in all walks of life, there are people who are quite good at stuff. Yeah. But if you're just a bit of a dick and you're a liability, then
not going to go anywhere.
So be a fun liability, but know when to stop being a liability.
Have you learned yet?
That
Have
line
you
does get
learned that
blurred
yet?
sometimes. But if you've got more green on your ledger than red, and you've got a bit of something about you, and you make an effort to talk to people, and you go out of your way to find out what's going on. Sometimes it be a bit pushy, which you've got to be. If you don't, here's a good here's a good phrase that I learned from a very early age with the Heaney boys: is shy bairns get knee sweets.
Shy birds get knee sweetsly.
Shy bairns, not birds. Or birds maybe as well, but bairns. As in, if you don't ask, you don't get. So you got to be a bit pushy. And so, yeah, you were a little bit pushy with me, and look at you now. You've got a poster of yourself on your own wall that you printed up for you.
Props to CFD printing in Virginia Water for getting me that for free as well. So,
actually,
well, it's just one of the boys from rugby.
Okay.
Moving on to that was quite a big step for you in terms of the caliber of stuff that you're doing, because the time I showed up at Birmingham at the NEC in front of 8,500 people, that must have been quite a moment for yourself to be like, you know, I'm at the top of my game in the extreme sport presenting world.
I mean, yeah, I'm very proud to say that I've hosted 2 packed out houses at the NEC and Wembley. Boom! Hey, man, it's a cool thing.
For the listeners, Matt has just mic dropped.
It's as close to being as a rock star as I'm ever gonna be, and I can very easily see why rock stars and people who entertain thousands just go completely off the rails, because it is like mainlining ego boost for that many people, and it is a buzz. And you were there. It's
me and you sharing I remember I got my bracelet and I walked down and I was like, we had our own VIP changing room at Wembley, and I was like, I've done it. I've fucking completed life. And all the people that had signed there, and then God forbid if those walls could talk that evening.
I mean, it wasn't just Dan and I in that room. That's not
no.
It never felt like a big jump. The motocross thing happened in 2016, and I got asked to do a job down in Bournemouth through someone who I had emceed before, a guy called Jay Stevenson. This guy who's ex-snowboarder, amazing musician, band called Feral Sun, tennis coach, weirdly enough, skateboarder, rollerblader, everything. Just
one of those guys, like the Peacocks, just does
really
everything.
Annoying, talented guy who actually DJ'd my wedding, who was actually on the roll call of videos for my birthday as well. Hey Jay, he couldn't do a gig down in Bournemouth. He put me forward for the gig, and that gig was Bournemouth Wheels Festival with the Bulldog Boys, the FMX boys.
Yeah.
And it was the same people who organised that organised Goodwood Festival of Speed, that also do Arena Cross, and they put me in for that as a test run for Goodwood Festival of Speed. And then the Goodwood Festival of Speed, I was working under Christian Stevenson, the American guy who was lead host there, who was also the lead host for Arena Cross, alongside Jeff Perrott, who we worked with at Arena Cross.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got in as the third MC, third host. Second host at Goodwood, and then third host at Arena Cross. And
where would that put me as in number of hosts when I was out the front doing spin the wheel with a bunch of kids?
Yes. We've all got to scrape the barrel at some point.
Matt called me. He's like, I've got this gig at Wembley. I was like, Christ, fill me in. I walked out. The stadium was empty. Lights everywhere. It's like, this is amazing, Matt. He said, you're not there yet. I've introduced you. I was at the front, practically babysitting a load of kids, giving them signed posters of myself. They have no idea who I am.
You slayed it, dude.
I did. Thank you.
I'm so glad that they didn't have that activation going on while I started out.
Yeah, I know. I've ruined my career.
It kind of snowballed, but before that point, before I started working with the motocross world, I was already doing other bits like live commentary for events, because before everything went online and everything was so easy to stream through Facebook and various other channels, it's just so cheap and easy to put live content of a real high quality now. Before then, it was still full-blown, huge OB trucks and proper TV productions where they would rent satellite space to grab the footage from events wherever they were in the world, and I would be sat in a booth somewhere in the UK commentating on it live, or in some cases they'd fly me out and I'd still be sat in a booth somewhere at that event, commentating on it live to be posted. And then it was things like Empora, and Extreme channel.
Just to say, when they say fly melt, that's certainly not a private jet. That would be maybe a fly B or maybe an easy jet.
As coach and cost effective as could possibly be most of the time. But it was amazing, and I got to go to some incredible events like Freestyle CH was one in Zurich, which is an amazing event, and then other events that I did the live commentary for, like the Oakley Arctic Challenge, and Munich Air Style. I was just in the UK,
awesome,
doing it. But then that was snowballing, and that was doing really well. I thought that leads to presenting and whatnot. And then the arse just dropped out of those big production units, those big companies that had a stranglehold on those sorts of production, because everybody could do it themselves.
And do you think that that's had a snowball effect on this, almost the amount of money that is put into the, wakeboarding still most certainly isn't a mainstream extreme sport. Would you say that that's had a sort of snowball effect on the, I remember back in the day going at Wakestock and there being, thousands of pounds of being pumped into the sport, and anyone now with a drone and a decent bit of kit can make these incredible videos and can put two and two together. Would you say that that's had a big effect on the sport?
Well, yeah, because the model for promoting action sports just totally flipped on its head. First of all, up until sort of the early 2010s, it was still niche, it was still novel, it was still different to have those sports involved and for brands to be getting on board with them. But then post that, it's part of popular culture now, so it's not niche. It is niche in terms of its size, but it's not new. Yeah. And so that changed. So there wasn't as much money readily available from all these marketing and PR execs who wanted to use a sport to promote their
brands, yeah.
And also because it became that much more popular, all of you call them surf brands, but all the brands involved in action sports called surf because they started in surf, like the clothing brands and so on, they just weren't making as much money because fast fashion came along, and
it's done.
People don't buy, not as many people buy a t-shirt with a brand emblazoned on it as they used to do, and spending 40 quid on a t-shirt because you can get it so much cheaper. So that killed that. There was all the money disappearing. Then you've got more and more and more and more events popping up, and then you've got more and more people easily able to cover those events because of cheaper online productions. And so terrestrial TV had their pick of anything. They don't have to pay for anything. They said, just give us the content and we'll put you out there. We're not going to pay for anything. So therefore, sponsors are having to pay for everything, as opposed to TV production companies maybe getting involved to make these productions happening. And everybody's got events going on everywhere all the time. It just became saturated, which is good for the sport and the participation, but it did mean the money that was in it just diluted and started to disappear as the halcyon days, the salad days that arguably were wakeboarding for certain, was 90s was the big money time for wakeboarding.
For wakeboarding, yeah.
And then early 2000s for sure.
So what would you say is not only next for what's next for Matt Crowhurst? Is it take a step back and let the young come through, if you will, or
I'm just going to focus on homeschooling my kids. I'm going to go back to university. I'm going to become a teacher because I've got a real flair for it. Yeah. Well, it as for many people, this past year has been quite frustrating, and there was a little flu going around, I hear. Yeah. There were some things on the horizon that were a little bit out of my normal field of work. So I was lined up to do some emceeing of the UCI BMX World Cup stop in Manchester. That was the start of the year. Potentially some getting involved in some other motorsport. There was some talks of being involved in some way at a Formula One thing. So I'm hoping those things will rear their head. Yeah. For me, I still want to host events. For wakeboarding, hopefully I still will be, because I know wakeboarding. I'm the knowledge in it. So Jeff Perrott, who is the ex motocross pro for arena cross, he can keep doing it for as long as he likes because he's the knowledge and everybody knows him in that sport. But he will be always sidelined potentially with someone like at a big show like that. There'll always be a pair. and there might be someone who needs to be the anchor, the Billy no idea,
and the wanker.
the anchor. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, anchor.
The
Sorry.
anchor.
Yeah.
The anchor. Exactly what you said. But within his own sport, he can carry on doing that forever. And so with my own sport, hopefully I'm still involved. But there's other stuff going on. So equestrian sport, where I've been doing the Liverpool Horse Show and another event called Bolesworth, where I am the anchor, the Billy no idea about equestrian sport, where I'm sort of am the everyman.
It's
for those
full on blagging.
That was good blagging. That was good
Good
blagging.
blagging. So I think one thing that I want to do with these podcasts, certainly being the first one, is to end on a statement or something that you sort of go by, sort of day to day, and that's going to be, well, I want it to be the title of the show. So if I was to ask you, Matt Crowhurst, what's something you try and live by?
Never eat yellow snow.
So Matt, obviously a very tough year for everyone at the moment. Wakeboarding has been very, very, very minimal to an extent. I know the Keys are doing sort of one person there at a time. I know, Liquid Leisure's opened on a max capacity. Where do you see the next step, A, for the sport, and B, for yourself moving forward for 2021?
So despite it being a slow start, and despite all of the restrictions that were in place, and needing to be in place to keep everybody safe, wakeboarding actually did all right in terms of sales of boards. Certainly for the guys that I work with, Slingshot, they've been doing all right. Like, it was a slow start, it was a slow burner, but people wanted to get out and do something because of the restrictions they were put under. So I know, because of where I live on the south coast here in Chichester, where it's big on wind sports, so sailing, windsurfing, foiling, just absolutely exploded. I mean, everybody knows that things like camping gear and bicycles and
another string to your bow, if you don't mind me saying, a new race bike, I believe.
Oh, spandex and going fast, taking
little
chances
wheel
on
that
the
big,
road.
going like that with you, but
Tuck and go. Honestly, it's really quite liberating having tight clothing and the wind rushing through your particles.
Because nothing's more attractive than driving through Chichester and seeing Matt Crowhurst coming up behind you in a set of lycras and his bollocks just waving behind.
Old man bollocks just dangling on the back wheel. Yeah. I think wakeboarding is going to be fine when things do open up. If they do open up, hopefully they will this summer, and we have the same weather that we did last year, because everyone has just got a taste for it again, and everyone's locked in. So everybody's going to be doing every sport they can. So I think it's going to be good. I think aside from COVID, so what would be really helpful for the sport is, we want all of these different events going on, because that's what's amazing about wakeboarding and similar sports, is that it doesn't have to be just one thing going in one direction, aligned with one set of rules. It can be anything, but there has to be a starting place. And unless there's that starting place, that grassroots entry to the sport, both in terms of participation, but also progression as in competition, then how do those riders get
to the next level
enough to go to the other things, to your Red Bull Harbour Reaches, to your plastic playgrounds, to your cable carnivals? There's no way for them to get there. It's like a closed circuit, you know what I mean? So it's a tight knit community at the top, and that's what's cool, and that's aspirational and inspirational. And I'm in awe and so impressed by Ryan and Liam for doing what they did with Cable Carnival, and
episode 4, Liam,
and not caring what people say, and just doing what you do and doing it so well, and having such a massive audience. I mean, Davey O'Keefe, first ever European rider to get top of the riders poll. Is insane. A couple of years ago, absolutely insane.
Very well liked, but that's also very much again how he's documented himself and how he's portrayed. You at wakeboarding, you almost do your own business, aren't you? Like the Peacock brothers are absolutely smashing it. They are going to be on episode 4, both Liam and Ryan.
Okay, get that in there. Make sure you're. I mean, once again, this is the test run. That's the one you really want to watch.
Yeah, that one next week. And Nick Coates and Toby Yeo coming on about Base 69 and Bro.
Oh right, are they going to have a fight?
They're going to fight. They're going to have a dick off.
Actual fight.
They're going to have a dick off on Zoom.
That would be the biggest wet middle class fisticuffs.
Yeah,
seen, wouldn't it?
Nick Coates from the south, Toby from the north. There's knob everywhere.
So yeah, all props to those boys for doing what they're doing, but we do need the likes of those riders who are doing so well out of sport, who have worked so hard to actually stand up and say, hey, you should aim for this, but these sorts of things are good for the sport as well, because that's what brings those entry-level riders together and gives them a platform and a pathway onto the bigger things, so that these riders will come and join us at Cable Carnival in years
Next
to come.
time.
So that's all I want to say to qualify that. I think that's what's needed for our sport to grow in the UK, just to people to say, right, what one thing can we all do together to push it forward? That would be
good.
cool for boat and
Good
cable.
team. And next for MC, the MC, Matt Crowhurst. Next is, you've had 20 plus years in the wakeboard world and the MCing world. Is it time now to take a step back and and see it from a different perspective?
I've obviously been in the sport a long time, and sometimes it does feel like I'm bashing my head against a brick wall in some areas, and sometimes you do think, you know what, screw this. But then that's a very knee-jerk, fleeting feeling when I think, hang on, this sport has given me so much, and my eldest Kit, he loves it now, and hopefully Jasper will go the same way. And I want them to have the opportunity to have the life that I've had, or at least get involved in the sport and get good at it, and then do other sports or do something else, but know that there is a sport there for them to get stuck into. So for me to try and help make the sport as big as it possibly can, then there's opportunity there for them. And
do they both ride on boards with the number 69 right between their legs, or?
Yeah. They'll learn about that in years to come. Yeah.
When Kit's 7 and no, not as in let them know early. No. So wakeboarding.
So no, I still want to be involved in wakeboarding massively. I work with our governing body in a big way, British Water Ski and Wakeboard, and the wakeboarding fraternity will certainly say they don't really do right by us. But you know what? The wakeboarding community in a lot of areas doesn't really know everything. Yes, British Water Ski has missed a trick here and there, and there are things happening this year that hopefully I can help push in the right direction to better service the wakeboard industry. But it also takes the wakeboarding world to once again stop being so isolationist and think, hang on, what's best for the sport? Maybe a governing body that works well for us would be good. So how can we make that governing body work better? Get involved. Don't just moan about it. Try and change it. If you're only going to moan about it, then do one. All right. Don't comment at all. If you want to get involved, that's not to say that they've not done stuff wrong or they've not missed things that they could have picked up on and got involved with, but get involved. So yeah, British Water Ski coaching, coach training. I do a lot of the emceeing side of things. I think when all this craziness passes over, hopefully passes us by, everybody's going to be hungry for events. So
getting together.
So hopefully it'll be a summer of Goodwood Festival Speed, boat and cable events that we can get stuck into, and other stuff aside. There is actually, you would have seen the post. Did you see that post, Dan? That there is plans to do Arena Cross, fingers crossed, like 3 weekends at the same venue.
Yes, we'll be there. I'll be there spinning the wheel
in the summer. So fingers crossed that will happen. It'll be cool to have it in the summer, and it'd be cool for it to just be in situ at one place.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether they mentioned on that post where it might be, so I won't say that. But
or who they're going to be using as presenters.
Hey, it'd be great to go there as a spectator at least.
Yeah, because so Matt, let's just sort of tie everything in. So what would you say is something that a saying that you sort of not just live by, but something that sort of perseveres with you? And so anything that you sort of live by?
DBAD, man. DBAD.
Please.
Don't be a dick. I mean, there are many different types of dick, as you well know, Dan. This is going out after the watershed, isn't it?
Yeah, 8 p.m. So by the time I listen to this, it'll be easily 10:30.
It literally is. Look, put yourself out there, and don't be worried about what it's all cliches, but cliches come from somewhere. There's always some truth in them somewhere, but you got to put yourself on the line. You got to stand up and be counted. And if you stand up and be counted, then you're going to be in line for some flack. And I've had so much grief in my time within the wakeboarding world from trolls in our sport who just don't get it. And you kind of think, well, at the time, zooming out now. Zooming out now. And at the time, it's upsetting. And at the time, it gets to you, and it has done. But then I think now, and I think, where are those people now? And what are they doing? Sweet FA. And I make no bones about it. I'm sure, in fact, I know, because people have told me that at times I have been a dig. Not in a cool, funny way, just an actual dig. But as long as you recognise that and you make
one time at the Keys, did you not swim out to the boat and then we clean-filled jollies?
That was the different kind of being a dick. That was, oh man, that guy's a dick, but he's awesome kind of being a dick. I did get naked at the Keys, and I did rest my bits on the fence from the Keys side of the fence, not in the pub. And I did get barred from that pub.
Okay. Well, luckily enough, it's changed many hands now.
that paperwork's lost in the ether. So yeah,
I've got the paperwork.
I've still got the paperwork.
I've got the email.
Blow that up and frame it. Yeah.
Actually, let's send that, and then people can have a read at the end. But Matt, it's episode 1. Thank you for joining me. It's still a work in progress, but thank you for coming on. Thank you for being my first ever hot air podcast. How's it been for you?
Hey, if this makes it millions, will you remember me, Dan?
I mean, probably not.
Probably not. I'll be the coat boy at the big party celebrating.
You'll be spinning the wheel and I'll be at the top.
Yeah, fair play. Hey, hey, well done to you for keeping it short. That was pretty impressive.
Thank you very much. It's part of my life. But no, Matt Crowhurst, thank you so much for coming on. That, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the Hot Air Podcast. Matt, thank you so much. We'll bid you adieu.
So, there we have it, my first ever podcast episode. Firstly, a huge thanks to Mr. Matt Crowhurst for jumping on and talking all things action sports. Another big thanks goes out to my first ever episode sponsor, which is the team at Bay 6 Clothing. If you did like any of the garments that you saw in the promotional video, please jump onto bay6.com and use the code HOTAIRPODCAST for 15% off your order. That's Bay, the word, the number 6, ix.com. Now, moving on to next week, I've got a fantastic guest yet again, Mr. Ross Peacock. We're going to be talking all things hair transplants. So, for now, have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you next week.